Goed.
Jy
Dit
so
is yes, dis
almal
timing. Dis no
almal kom
timing.
almal kom op die minute. Net so ons
Right.
begin rekord.
Everybody, the recording has started seconds ago. So just so that you know, goeienaand, goeienaand. Naand Pieter, naand Janku.
Hallo.
En
Hallo
dan
almal.
nou vir Hannes ook hallo gesê. Right. Kom ons gaan kyk hierso. Now there's another person coming in. Let me just see here. We very happily stopped on Tuesday thinking that we've done everything, but I realized that we did not do chapter 7. So we're going to do that now.
Goeienaand.
Hallo. Goeienaand. So
Henry, net so
yes.
vooraf te noem. Ek sien net ek weet nie of jy ander dit ook optel nie, maar jou resolusie kom en gaan nie altyd op die beeld van die wat jy
Dit kan dalk wees
Wi-Fi.
Wel ek
Ja.
is nie op Wi-Fi nie, ek is lekker gekabel. Kom ons maak dit seker. Ek is definitief gekabel.
Nie op die wifi nie.
Wired? Ja, nee, ek hou nie van wireless goeders nie. Want hierdie
Dis
goeders
nice vir die
werk.
fone en dis maar waar dit moet stop. Dis al waar dit moet wees.
Ja, nee, want hy is hoe sê hulle Pieter het gesê dis black magic.
Ek moet
En
sê
ja,
sit nog die hele dag erge probleme, hoor. Ek het
Is dit?
vandag probeer gee op Teams en dit was nagmerrie die hele dag.
is dit
Solar
ook
flares.
Ja.
Ja, cool. Right,
Dit
kom
om
ons
meer
gaan
van jou
kyk.
te hoor, Pierre. Gaan.
Ek gaan nou
Right, kom. Sorry, gaan daar so Peer?
nee, ek sê dis my beurt om nou stil te bly. Goeienaand almal.
Okay, I'll say. Yeah, so as we all realize that we've actually not done chapter 7 and we were supposed to, but I think we ran out of steam anyway. So let's quickly do that. Now, I'm not going to read the entire book. I'm just going to say what we need to know, and you can go and read where it comes from. Now, you know Ohm's law by now. So now we can calculate the power, and power is P, as they show it over there, and the formula to calculate that is P equals V times I. So, which is nice here is that there's actually values in. So I must just go and look for my calculator, which I forgot to open. So, but luckily it's not too far away. So if we take 240 and we times that by 5 amps, we get 1,200, and we know that 1,200 is equal to 1.2 kilowatt, which is indeed correct. Now, using Ohm's law, we can calculate the resistance. Once again, we take 240 and we divide that by the resistance. But now, where did I get it? Let's just see here. Did I not read something? Right. Ohm's law also deals with voltages and currents as well as resistances. So it can often be used together with the formula of power. For example, suppose that there is an example above that had instead been told that the kettle runs off 240 volt and the element has a resistance of 48 ohms, we would then use Ohm's law to calculate the currents. Since I equals V divided by R, indeed. So yeah, we did not get the information correctly because we didn't read that. So if we do that, 5 amps, we've got the same answer. So that is indeed correct. So in other words, you can calculate the power, and then you can also calculate the resistance and the voltage and this would also link to that very sophisticated circuit that I drew up. Let me just go and fetch that.
And don't forget the triangles here.
Absolutely, very good point, Ryan.
Both the 7.1 and 7.2, you can do a triangle.
RAE. Oh, these are very sophisticated. So, in other words, if you, I don't know how many of you guys did this, but with the values that you got in these circuits, you can then also calculate the current. And that's the way that you would then calculate what type of resistor you need to do a specific job. Go back to the book. Here they give us the formula again. Ohm's law, know that I equals V divided by R. And now they're going to convert this thing a little bit. And this is very handy. So I would suggest you try and remember this. So P equals, if you use Ohm's law, then you end up with V times V divided by R. So we can say that P equals V squared divided by R. So now we can get the opportunity to put the formula to the test. So we take first bracket 240, close bracket. Now I'm looking for the square.
Just above the IM.
It's that X with the little Y
One
on
below.
top of it. They're just one down. Just one. No, go down. That one. Yeah.
That one.
As
Yeah.
to the power? Yeah, that's
First
to the
one
power.
to the power 2.
And then 2. Okay, sorry. Divided by 48 equals 1,200. And that is 1.2 kilowatts. So once again, we've proven that the formula actually works as it's supposed to. Now we're going to do in the questions, there's a lot of these type of things where you're going to actually put values in. So you can manipulate this formula. And as Ryan said, the triangle works very well. If you forget the square thing or it doesn't make sense to you, you can always use the Ohm's law with the V equals IR. And then from there, once you've got all your values there, you can go to P and you can calculate your wattage. So you can use this, but if you forget it, you can use this. Other thing that I need to tell you, you get a formula sheet. So you don't have to actually remember the formulas. All you need to do is know where to use them. So if they give you a question, you must know which formula to use where. Okay, wat gebeur nou? Here's somebody that wants to get in. Graham Reed, okay. Joey, right. Welcome,
Hey.
Joey.
Thank you.
Hi. Right. Right. Joey, if you can maybe switch your camera off, please. We've got a bandwidth problem tonight.
Okay. Took me a while to get this thing going. Now I've got to try and reach out there. Just give me a second. Dave's not here to help me, so.
Okay. If you don't kill the machine though, if you can't get it right, we'll make an exception.
No, I will. Oh, there on the top. Hang on, I'll see where it is.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Right. Suppose we have a 50 ohm resistor and we have a current of 2 amps flowing through it. The power dissipated is P equals I squared R. So we go and look for our calculator and we bracket. No, we must first clear that. I'm struggling tonight with space on the screen for some reason. Right, so 2. No. Times 50 is now something she went wrong. No, it's right. 200 watts. Indeed. So, but what I don't understand is where that 4 square, I think that is wrong. I think that square there is supposed to be not there. So it would be 4 times 50. So that is a mistake in the book. Okay, this is what we've just done. We use Ohm's law to find the voltage across the resistor. P equals Y to calculate the power dissipated by the resistor. See if you get the same answer. We did. Okay, electrical sources. This includes batteries, mains power supplies, real life supplies. The simplest to work with in most cases is the constant voltage supply with some internal resistance. This model is known as that. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. But this is true, but very outdated. I will not connect any of my radios to a power supply like this because this is an unregulated power supply. But this is or this is how they did it in the olden days because there's an internal resistance, and somewhere where you can really see it is on a lead acid battery. If you charge it, the fully charged voltage shows 14.2 volts. When you disconnect the charger, it drops down. And the moment you connect the load to it, it drops down to 12.8 volts or whatever. And that is because of the internal resistance. Lithium batteries are much better. Internal resistance is much lower. So what they did was this. I'm going to use the AC power supply, the universal power supply that you plug into the wall with multiple voltages. If you switch that to 12 volt, it's an unregulated supply. If you measure it with no load, you'll get about 18 volts out of it. And then the moment you connect the load, it will drop down. The higher the load, the more the voltage will drop. Now, that is very dangerous for electronic equipment because you don't want a processor is going to be very unhappy if you supply it with 18 volts. It's not going to work, and your voltage has to be very stable. So what they did was, in the olden days, they've put a shunt resistor across the power supply so that it mimics a load. So that reduces that voltage, but it's still not. Let me just take the calculator out the way for the moment. Not a very efficient way to do it, and I think I want to almost say, for the exam, you need to know what this is. You've got to learn. You've got to learn it like a parrot, because they're going to ask you this, but it is the last time you're going to encounter this, because all power supplies, I don't know whether I actually do the power supplies later in the book, but all power supplies these days are regulated power supplies. So what they've basically done is they have used electronics to eliminate this effect. So the moment the voltage goes up, the electronic circuit will reduce the voltage or keep it stable at, let's say, for argument's sake, 14 volts. And they've made these little regulators very sophisticated and very easy to work with. So I'm not going to spend much time on this. You just learn whatever they say here, use it in the exam, and after that you'll never use it again. Then they say matching a source to a load. Now, look, I've never had a problem matching a AC circuit to the load, or the load to the supply, or whatever. So once again, learn this like a parrot and just remember it for the exam, and after that you can forget it. Here's basically the internal resistance, your load, and then this can be calculated to see what the internal resistance is. Constant voltage supply, but yeah, it's not as constant as they say. Yeah, they say here the mathematics is somewhat behind the level of this course. So, yeah, I don't know. Not just read through it and remember it. I think there's one question about matching the load. I think they say a 0.2 ohm internal resistance. What must you match it with to give the optimal performance? And that is the internal resistance and the load you put onto it must be exactly the same. Okay, here's efficiency. The efficiency is power out divided power in. Whatever is missing is lost, which makes it inefficient. 100 watt supply. If 100 watt is supplied to an antenna, but only 40 watt is radiated as radio waves, the efficiency is 40%. The remaining energy is dissipated in heat in the antenna elements or earth, or even in your coax cable. Sometimes your coax cable gets hot, means there's a loss. Summary: the power dissipated in a resistive load can be found using the formula P equals VI, where P is the power, which is the unit is watts, V is volts, and I is amps. This formula can be combined with Ohm's law, which we know is V equals IR, and then they've converted it into P equals I square R, and P equals V square divided by R. In a simple resistor, this power will be dissipated as heat. So that's why you would calculate the value of a resistor, or the wattage of a resistor, because if you put a quarter watt resistor, for instance, as a shunt resistor to measure, get a voltage from to measure the load, and your shunt resistor value or wattage is too low, the magic smoke will escape, and your power supply, whatever, is no longer going to work. All real life voltage sources have some internal resistance. That is true. The internal resistance causes the output voltage to drop somewhat when current is drawn. The maximum power transfer from a source to a load occurs when the load resistance is exactly equal to the source resistance. That's what I said just now. That's a question you will get. Just remember that it has to be there. Just one moment. Pieter probeer 'n vraag vra. Okay, kom ons gaan gou soontoe. Pieter, vra jou vraag.
Mens kry deesdae mos dis 'n komponent met so 3 sulke dingetjies wat 'n voltage regulator genoem word.
Korrek, ja.
Is daai goed nie maar beter as om te probeer uitwerk wat se weerstand van die VI jy veronderstel is om te hê om die external resistance te match nie?
Weet jy Pieter, dis 100% en dit is presies wat ek nou verduidelik het. Daar is regtig baie ander beter maniere om die ding te doen. Byvoorbeeld een van hulle is daai ding, LM317. As ek hom kan oopkry, daar's hy. Hier's 'n baie goeie voorbeeld.
Ja, so
Hierdie
dis 'n
is-
voltage regulator.
Dis korrek, ja. So in hierdie ouetjie is baie lekker om mee te werk. Hierso is 'n baie eenvoudige stroombaan en dit werk soos 'n bom. Hierdie ouetjie kan 1.5 ampere dra en baie eenvoudig. Verstelbare weerstand, nog 'n weerstand, 2 kapasitors en jy het 'n baie goeie stabiele power supply. Jy kan ook nou hierso 'n transistor oorsit en dan met 'n shunt resistor hierin en sodra die voltage drop oor die resistor meer as 0.6 volt is, dan begin hierdie transistor die werk doen. So met ander woorde, jy kan hierdie gebruik om vir jouself 'n 10 amp power supply of groter te bou selfs. So hierdie is absoluut van kardinale belang. Ek is baie lief vir hulle, maar my persoonlike gunsteling is hierdie ouetjie hierso. Hierdie is wat hierdie kry jy ook as 'n militêre spesifikasie chip en meeste power supplies tot voor die switch mode power supplies. Om die waarheid te sê, party van die switch mode power supplies het nog steeds hierdie chipie in. En wat hom lekker maak is hy het 'n sense circuit hierso wat maar op dieselfde prinsip werk as wat ek nou gesê het. Nou wat gebeur is jy sit weer eens 'n shunt resistor hier in. Sodra die voltage drop oor die jammer ek praat nou Afrikaans. Is all the English people following? Okay, so if the voltage drop exceeds 0.6 volts, this will kick in, the transistor will switch on, it will pull this down, it will switch this transistor off, and it works as a current limiting circuit, which is very nice. So if you build it correctly, it is basically unbreakable. Anyway, but Pieter, jy is reg. The voltage regulator today is the better option, but whatever I said now is written in the book. So we've got to remember what's written in the book and then answer what they ask us. Otherwise, we're going to argue with them and they're going to probably win. Efficiency is a fraction of power supply that is used in a useful way. That's right. So it's a fraction, a percentage of whatever we get is used. The rest is turned into heat. And we express it as a percentage. Right. Revision. Let me just see here. Let me just get to my crib notes. So I've actually calculated everything beforehand to save some time because we really ran out of time last week. Did I throw my calculator away? I did. Find it again. Right.
So the first one's formula is P equals VI, and you're looking for the I.
That's right. You're looking for the I. So we just saw now they say that we can say I equals, so we're going to put the 3
V squared.
3 divided by 12.
By 12, that's right, yeah. Divided by 12, and that gives us 0.25, which would be
milliamp.
250 milliamps, right. So Is there anybody that don't understand what I've just done?
Still there.
So
Oh,
it's the triangle PVI, P on top
Yeah.
of V.
that's right.
Volts times amps gives the power. Yes. E times amps gives the wattage, the P value.
Yeah,
And the
sorry, carry on.
I was just saying the volt times amps gives the watt or P value.
That's correct. Yes. Okay. Right. Next, let's go and see. Okay. The DC current drawn by a final stage of a linear amplifier is 100 milliamps at 100 volts. So we know that P equals V times R, V times I. So it will be 100 times 0.1. So that would be 100 times 0.1. And that would be 10. 10 what? Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm waiting for somebody to say, no, we don't agree. Right, now here we say, if a power supply delivers 200 watt of electrical power at 400 volts to a load, how much current does the load draw? Right, we know 200 goes on top, so we say 200
0.5.
divided
Mhm.
by 400, 0.5 amps. Indeed. Okay, now this question they've asked before. The product of a current, what force give you electrical power in a circuit? That is that electromotive force. It's the second time we get this question. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay, if anybody gets lost somewhere, please stop me. I cannot see anything, so you'll have to unmute your microphone and shout at me. Right, so a resistor is rated at 10 watt. Which of the following combinations of potential difference and current exceeds the rating of this resistor? So we'll have to calculate each one of these to see what the actual power is. So we take 2 times 0.1 equals 0.2. So 10 watt would be able to handle that. 20 watt, 200 microamp. 20 times 200 to the 6.
Isn't that a trick one? Oh, you're going with the power. Sorry.
Yeah.
I
Let me
want to
just,
say that power. There's a trick one there for a second.
must be a minus 6 equals. No, something horribly went wrong here, and I know
To the power
exactly.
of -6 and
Them
brackets.
brackets, them brackets.
Isn't it
Still not
to the
right.
power of -6?
That's right.
Not
What did I do here? You see, on the calculator, I can do it like this, but on this thing, I can't. On the calculator on the screen, let's see if it works. Ah, indeed. But it's still not right. Is it right? Yeah, it is right. Okay, so that one can handle it. So it's not that. So we cancel that and we say 1 to the 3 times 25
0.25.
to the -3.
don't
equals.
Powers and brackets.
I'm sure I'm typing. Wat maak ek vanaand?
$25 watt.
25 watt. Yeah, that's gonna be
Exceeding the 10 watts.
that's gonna exceed the 10 watts. Yeah, 25 watts is gonna really make that one hot. And zero, I mean zero is zero, so it can't be. So it's definitely C.
So you're turning a resistor into a light bulb.
That's right. Yeah. Unfortunately, there's oxygen present, so it's gonna it's gonna burn.
It's a temporary light bulb.
That's the
temporary.
quick one. It's like a
red,
flash.
A little red LED with a very
That's it. Yeah.
short LED.
A single strobe.
Right. A starter motor of a motor car draws 200 amps from a 12 volt battery. How much power does it use? Now, we know that that is 12 times 200 because
20.
P equals
2.4
V times I.
Kilowatt. So it's C.
So it's no.
2.4 kilowatts, yes.
BC. Okay, I didn't read AABC, but it's
Okay,
2.4
there's a-
kilowatts.
There's a typo.
So for me, that one is C. That B is in the wrong space.
Oh, okay. Yeah. This is 2,400, which
Watt.
is the same as 2.4 kilowatt. Right. Next one. Now they say we must calculate the resistance of that motor in question. So we say R equals 12 divided by 200 equals
Isn't it 2,400?
A.
60 milliohm.
Just scroll so
That
we
is
can
good.
see question 6. Okay.
Right. If you're okay now, we can carry on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. 100%. The internal resistance of a car battery is found to be 0.2 ohm. Into what load resistance will it deliver the maximum power? Now that is what we read just now. Yeah, B. It must be the same. Get maximum power. Here's a nice one, and I actually had to make sure that I've got it right, because this is a trick question. There's so many of these things that you can get it wrong so easily. If you have,
Megavolts.
so let's start here. We say we've got 100 to the 6, and we put a bracket there times 10 to the
To the
3.
power 4 or 3, yeah.
3.
Power 3,000.
3 gives us 10 to the 12. And you can, if you make a mistake, if you forget your brackets, you end up with one of these. So this one you can very easily answer wrong, but I've gone through a couple of people, and the right indeed is D. Right, next question.
Okay, question 10.
Current of 2 milliamps is measured in a 1K resistor. How much power is the resistor dissipating? Right, so we take our calculator and V equals I times R. So we've got R and we've got the amp. So all we need to know is how to use it. So we open a bracket, 2 to the minus 3.
Mm.
Minus 3 times
Going
1
for A.
to the 3, and that is 2. 2 what?
2 what? Sure.
Now something's
Oh,
wrong.
it's a 1 kilo ohm. Oh, hang on. Kilo ohm resistor.
Yeah, 10 to the 3. 1 times 10 to the 3, that's right.
And 2 millis. 1,000.
Henry,
Into the
Yeah, yes, ek luister.
there's a nasty shortcut in this one. Milliamp is 1,000th of an amp, and kilo ohm is 1,000th of an ohm. So the milli and the kilo cancels each
Cancels
other.
each other out, yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And becomes 2 times 1.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry.
Always check out for those. It helps actually a lot to make it also easy if you don't.
So
want
our
to
answer
go
2
too
is
crazy.
correct then.
Yeah.
Yeah, C.
Okay, very good. C, good.
Okay, next question.
Right,
Let's go.
I think the questions are finished now. I'm going to
Ah,
throw my
Because time is
calculator
catching us.
again. No, but I think tonight we're going to be better, alternating current. Okay, DC circuits, the current always stays the same. One side's positive, the other side's negative. In an AC circuit, it switches from positive to negative. And that's why they call it alternating current. They say alternating current, so I'm correct. The sine wave, sine signal, as they call it here. This is a triangular wave, and this is a square wave. However, when we analyze AC circuits, we normally think of a wave of being a sine signal. Now, that comes from sinusoidal, and that is if you plot a circle, a rotating device. And there is, I think they show that somewhere in the book in the future, where the magnetic field actually cuts through the, the copper wire cuts through the magnetic field, and when it goes in 90 degrees with the magnetic field, it gives the maximum output. I think it's
Next
further.
page.
Okay.
Next page.
Electrical circuits. To understand the sine function, we start by looking at rotating bodies. Visualize a point on the circumference of a rotating wheel. Now think only about the vertical displacement from the central. Okay, you can go and read, but this is basically the illustration. So in most cases, we work from the 0 line to the maximum point and then down back to 0. This is a half wave. That's the other half of the wave. And then from that point to that point would be a full cycle. Values decrease after 90. Okay, so this is basically now what I just told, where you get your maximum point and then it decreases and it comes down and you've got your negative. Here is your formula to calculate that voltage peak, and that is now basically where you start working with your RMS values and things like that. So here they explain. Is there anybody that's not familiar with this type of drawing?
Me.
Yeah,
Who's me?
Joey.
Yeah,
Joey.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll
Right.
have to go on a one-on-one with you later, Andy.
I'll explain it to you, yes, because if somebody's got no electrical experience, then this
Yeah.
is Greek. So I will translate it for you into English sometime. Okay.
Okay.
So 100%. Don't worry about it now. It's once you've understand it, you know it's easy. Okay, there's your sine wave again. Although most radio signals are indeed sine waves as they travel through space, we are more interested in the sine shape signal in the electric circuit to avoid clumsy construction like sinusoidal signal. We therefore use the term sine. Yeah, it's just an abbreviation. It's the same as I explained the potentiometer, and we use the word pot. Doesn't mean you can make food in it. The voltage current
No.
shapes circuit.
And sinusoidal is not suicidal.
Until you start do the math, then you think twice. Right. Cycles and half cycles. Okay. Well, I just explained the cycle there at the top. So from 0 to 360 degrees would be a full cycle, and 180 degrees would be a half cycle. So relative to 0 is the negative. I mean, the positive side is positive, but relative to the 0 line, the negative is also positive. But they say it here somewhere. I did read it, but don't break your head about it. It's they say it here somewhere, but it never comes up as a calculation. Definition: the frequency of a waveform is the number of cycles per second. So there we get now frequency. Frequency is time based. So they say they say that 50 hertz, 50 cycles per second, that is our mains power. So what it basically means is that the cycle, complete cycle, full cycle is 20 milliseconds. So for 10 milliseconds, it's positive, and for 10 milliseconds, it's negative, or the polarity swapped around. But it's still unpleasant. It doesn't matter how fast it is. Wavelength and the speed of light. Electrical currents and voltages move through wires at almost the speed of light. Now, do you remember I used the analogy of a pipe with balls in it, ball bearings in it? If you push one ball in the one side, the one pops out on the other side. Now, the reason why there's a little bit of it says almost the speed of light, because there's a little gap between these electrons. So the one's got to move a little bit before it pushes the next one on. So that chain reaction that you get takes a while to happen, but it's about 90%. What they say here, 90% the speed of light. So it's just slightly slower than the speed of light, which is pretty fast. But that's not the speed of the actual electrons. That's just how they push each other on. But they actually they themselves move reasonably slowly. Radio waves transmitted from an antenna also travels at the speed of light. We're happy about that because that means we can talk to each other in real time. The speed of light, which is actually represented by a symbol c in physics, is approximately 3 times 10 to the 8 milliseconds, equivalent to just over, what's it,
1
billion kilometers an hour. That's quick. Think about the AC waveform with a constant frequency moving through a very long wire at the speed of light. The start of one cycle will occur at a particular point in time, and hence at a particular point along the wire. The start of the next cycle will occur in a certain time, a certain time later. So in other words, what they're basically saying is you've got a long piece of wire, but it's got to be really long. So one cycle will complete and the next one will start, and you'll have a bunch of cycles in that wire going down that wire, traveling at almost the speed of light. Okay, so definition. The wavelength of a wave is the distance it travels in one cycle. Okay. So that's how long it takes to get into that wire. Because wavelength represents the distance the wave travels during a certain time, it is related to the period and the frequency as follows. Now this is the lambda sign equals the speed of light times the time. T is time. So here we've got lambda c divided by frequency. So that would be speed of light divided by
1
frequency.
billion.
That's it. Right. That is the Greek lowercase l, pronounced lambda. Is the wavelength in meters. C is the speed of light in milliseconds. T is the period in seconds. And frequency is the frequency in hertz. So frequency is measured.
Henry,
Yes.
sorry, the speed of light is in meters per second.
Oh, meters per second. Sorry.
Meters something else,
Milliseconds. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No problem.
Meters per second. Speed of light is in meters per second. Yeah, it can't be milliseconds. Okay. No, sorry about that. I apologize. For example, one of the author's favorite radio stations is Cape Talk, which broadcasts on a frequency of 567 kilohertz. The corresponding wavelength can be calculated as follows. Right, we've got that the wavelength, or lambda, equals the speed of light divided by the frequency. So we call on our calculator. The reason why I do the math with a calculator that's already written here is to make sure, first of all, that this is right and that we actually know how to do that. So we'll say
Sorry, where does
3.
that 3 come from again?
That is this, just page back.
It's the speed of light.
Speed of light,
It's the speed of
yes.
light.
Wavelength, the speed
3
of light.
times 10 to the power of 8. Okay.
Yeah, 3 times 10 to the power of 8. Correct, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Funny gooders, right. I've got instructions here from the other side. And they say if I close things on my computer, it will stop blurring for you guys. So, not to argue and just do what I'm told. Close tabs, I'll say. But I don't know, you guys still struggle with the video quality.
It does go a lot if we browse a lot and quickly up and down eventually.
Okay.
So slightly
I'll-
slower helps.
Okay, so let's try and do that one. 3 times. This is not going to work like that. Divided by 567 to the 3. Close enough. So that is how we know that this wavelength for that frequency is 529 meters long. So that's the total wavelength. So if we want to make a half wave antenna, we'll use that calculation and divide that up. Right.
So you'll catch the full wave if your antenna is that long.
That's right. Yes.
Jeez.
Right. Yeah. So if you go to, that's a pretty long, it's a long antenna. This is the distance that the radio waves transmitted by will travel during one complete cycle. So yeah, and that's traveling at the speed of light. So there is a shortcut. Now this is the holy grail for radio amateurs and building antennas. Unfortunately, we've got a shortcut. Because we express most of our frequencies in megahertz, million cycles per second, we can avoid having to deal with lots of zeros or with scientific notation by using this formula. So what it basically means is you calculate your wavelength, you divide 300 by the frequency, and you get your wavelength. So we can actually try that. They've got here 14,100, so it's 14.100. But I've got to divide 300 like that. And then if we say equal, it gives us 20 meters, and that is indeed correct. I mean, if you round it down. So, yeah, 20.3 meters. Now, there's another one. Note that the higher the frequency, the shorter the wavelength, and vice versa. So, if you're running at 2.5 gigahertz, you've got a very, very short antenna. And I think Pierre can Pierre can tell us exactly how long that wavelength is without even calculating it.
What, 2.4 gigahertz? It's about
Yes,
5
sir.
centimeters. About
That's
5
right.
centimeters.
Now, can you imagine from what was it just now, 500 meters down to 5 centimeters? That is what you call technology. Right. Where F is the frequency.
Why do you ask me? Because I play with Wi-Fi. Okay.
I know you know a lot about Wi-Fi, yes. Where F is the frequency in megahertz, and then lambda is the wavelength in meters. Yes.
One can actually calculate where that 300 divided by frequency in megahertz comes from. Because if you take the speed of light 3 times 10 to the power 8, that is 10/8. If you take 2 of them out for the 300 times 10 to the power 6 then. And
That's
megahertz is also to the power 6 from hertz. So
it cancels it out.
6, and that's why they cancel out. Yes.
That's right, yeah. Correct.
Sorry,
Okay.
I did a bit of mathematics in the head there.
It helps. Just to make sure it is in that unit.
Yeah, so if you have the 300, you there. Because they're gonna ask you. I don't think I've never seen a question where they ask you anything else but megahertz.
No, we always work in megahertz. All our bands are in megahertz. Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll probably ask you. So if you've got the holy grail of 300, then you're going to be okay with these things. A person's got to just practice this by calculating it from meters to frequency and back again. So that you're very familiar with so you can spot when you make a mistake. The actual frequency limits of the 2-meter band in South Africa is 144 and 146 megahertz. The reason for Yeah, the reason for the discrepancy is that the 2-meter band is intended as a name for the band. So if you can do the calculation, you'll see that this is not exactly 2 meters, but it's close to 2 meters. But we call it the 2-meter band, just as I think 7 megahertz is not exactly 40 meters. Or is it?
You can calculate it. 300 divided by 7.1.
42.
Exactly. You see?
Yeah, 7.1 you say.
Yeah.
Then it's exactly.
That's almost the middle of the band.
That's right, yeah.
That's
But
a
it's 40,
A bit closer. It's a bit
42 meters, yeah.
That's a fun to
So-
work with those bands. Those are
So-
very sensitive bands.
So is it a good idea to have a 42-meter antenna?
Yes.
Well, you would have to tune this.
Actually, the
you
half
know-
of that, because we work with quarter wave. Yeah. On the
Yeah,
side.
that's right, yeah. So, but you will have to tune this because this is dependent on the actual, what they call it, Pierre,
The factor of the cable.
that's it, yeah. Just say that again, it broke up.
The velocity factor of your antenna wire is a percentage of the speed of light again. That's because of the internal resistance in the cable, that it's less than the speed of light through a vacuum.
That's right, yeah. So you can actually calculate, you actually cut your coax cable according to the wavelength you want to use it for. So you can, with the velocity factor, you can calculate your cable length.
And if you buy coax cable, you can look it up on tables what the velocity factor for each one of those types of cables are. It's provided in a table.
That's right.
So
Right. Then we get to phases. Now, it is possible to have two sine signals on the same frequency, but where the cycle starts at different times. In this case, we would say the signals have a phase difference. The phase difference is usually expressed in degrees. One complete cycle comprises of 360 degrees. That's what I showed just now on that round thing, and then here's your sine wave. So, for example, a phase difference of 1/4 would be 90 degrees. Now, I don't know whether you guys have ever heard of three-phase electricity. So that's basically three single phases that is out by 120 degrees. And they say that that gives you very efficient, more efficient power than single phase electricity. It's just for interest's sake that.
But
Right.
you can't connect your household appliances directly to three-phase.
No, because between the phases, I think it's in Pretoria it's 400 volt, and in other places 380 volt between phases. However, between L1 and ground depends on if you have a star transformer, then you have a neutral wire. So then you can use L1 to neutral, L2 to neutral, and L3 to neutral. But be very careful, because if the three-phase gets hold of you, you might not remember that. Yeah, they always told us, have a healthy respect for electricity. It will save your life. So don't take chances. Unplug things. And I say again, unplug things.
yeah, there's another saying that says there are no bad electricians, only dead electricians.
That's right, yeah. So electricity is dangerous. And you might get away with it once or twice, but one day is one day where it gets you in your heart in the wrong position, and then it's tickets. So and nobody knows which shock is your last shock. So be very careful. Right. So RMS value, now that is something I think all the boys have had RMS and speakers in their cars and amplifiers, and was like a second language, RMS, because we always used to brag this is 100 RMS. Back in the day, 100 watts RMS was a lot of power. Today it's nothing. So with basically what RMS is that with the AC circuit is an average that will do the same work as a DC circuit. So that's why you would use RMS. Now there is, of course, the same power in a resistor. So in other words, it will do the same work as you would get from a DC circuit that is constant. So there's a calculation that we do. The RMS value of an AC voltage is the value of the DC voltage that would cause the same power dissipation in a resistance. I don't know if that's correct, but I would say rather in a resistor. But anyway, RMS is the peak power. Now the peak is where that signal, that's your peak, and depends on where it started, but the peak would usually be at 90% in relation to the zero line. So that's your peak. So you will use your peak voltage. Where did I go now? Sorry, I'm scrolling up and down, and I know that it gives headaches. For us,
Yes. This is where
right.
you were.
That's
Deep
it, yeah.
divided
For
by
us,
the square root of 2.
that's right, yeah. So RMS value is the peak value. That's at 90 degrees divided by 2 squared. And
Square
that
root.
gives, yeah, so, but that I don't think is correct. Let me just see here.
1
Squared
divided by 2 squared.
2.
xy2.
Yeah, you see that. And then if you, that gives
1
us
divided
that.
by that. Correct.
Okay, so wat dit basies beteken is dat RMS is die piek gedeel deur daai waarde. So nou is ek weer in Afrikaans. Sorry guys. Just want to try and find the space for my calculator. Note that this formula only works for sine wave signals. The ratio may be different for other waveforms, but in most cases we try and get to as close to a sine wave as possible, because I don't know, I mean, a pure sine wave inverter, is like the perfect inverter. So we try and get as close to sine wave as possible. RMS is the peak. That's the formula to get to it. So yeah, here they've got it right. So it would be
339.411.
That's it. Square thing. 2 times 240 equals. Very close. Very, very close. Close enough. Okay. The RMS value of an AC circuit is the value of the DC current that would cause the same power, but they've said this just now. So, but that's the definition. Okay, this is also a number you can remember. 0.707. That's the only one that I remember. So I basically either divide or times with that value. And that's how I calculate my RMS values. I never use that 1 or the square to whatever. I just remember this and I do all my calculations from that. I either, if I want to know, for instance, if I've got a 15-volt transformer divided by points, 15 divided by 0.707. So if I rectify and I put a capacitor on a 15-volt AC supply transformer, the output voltage I'll get from it with no load is 21 volts. So that's where I use that. And then, of course, the other way around again, if you've got 21 volts DC and you want to calculate the RMS, you would times it by, and that's what you
707.
use to decide what transformer you need to replace something with. Once again, I equals V divided by R. So in other words, to get to the current. And then, of course, if you're working with RMS values, then your amps would also be RMS that you've calculated through that. I'm going to close the calculator for a moment. Then the same thing here, P equals V times R. But this is only for resistive circuits. I think I said it last time as well. The moment you're working with inductive circuits like AC motors, things change a little because you've got inductance and that changes the values that you do. So this only works with resistive circuits on AC. Okay, here's a hint. Because square 2 is so useful when dealing with sine wave signal, it's worthwhile remembering this value. This is approximately 1,414. Also, 1 divided by 2 squared, the square root of 2 equals 0.707, which is exactly half of the square root of 2. You could say that the RMS value of a sine wave is 71% of its peak, and that its peak value is 141 of its RMS value. Right, that's good. Because we are primarily interested in radio, we need to understand something about frequency ranges. Right, now this table below, I can remember in my exam they did ask this. So you've got to know exactly from which frequency to which frequency is low frequency, medium frequency, high frequency, HF. We always talk about our HF radios, VHF, our 2-meter band, UHF, the 70 centimeters, and then from there it goes up and it actually gives you the wavelength as well, or the amateur band that we use. Summary.
Those SIHF and up must be quite hard to deal with to ever get a connection or get.
No, you know what?
communication.
There's guys that do up to. Well, I know of guys in Pretoria that goes up to 10 gigahertz talking to satellites. So, look, my life stops at UHF, so I don't have. When Johan's going to do the digital section, Johan Leeman has got ZS6 JPL. He is a master with these things because he's been playing around with that for when I started as a radio amateur in 2010, he was already playing with this. So he's absolutely a master on his in
just
that
know
field.
point to point 60 gigahertz was because the band is so small with the waveforms. It's an extremely hard thing to align with those things.
Exactly. If you look at the wavelength of it, then you can see how much the wave, how narrow it's got to be for the alignment. And that's why those higher frequencies can carry a lot more data because they cycle faster per second. But the alignment is a challenge, and attenuation is also a big problem over distance.
That is, I know that one. Like 80 gigahertz, you can only go like a couple kilometers before you even lose it, the connection. That's all you can do.
Right. The majority of amateurs operate on HF, VHF, and UHF, which is very true. Some of them go higher and some of them go lower, but this is where most amateurs is in these ranges.
And Wi-Fi is up to 6 gigahertz.
That's
Just
right.
as a matter of interest.
Yo, that's faster. AC signals, this is now their summary, I think. AC signals consists of many identical cycles, one after another. Sine wave signals consist of a single frequency known as a fundamental. All other signals have additional frequencies, the harmonics. The period of a waveform is the time taken for one complete cycle. The frequency of a waveform is the number of cycles per second. The waveform of a wave is the wavelength. Sorry, I'm a bit tired. The wavelength of a wave is the distance traveled in one cycle. The wavelength and the frequency of the wave are related by the formula of frequency equals 300 divided by lambda, or the wavelength. And they say the wavelength. Phase differences are expressed in degrees, with 360 degrees in one cycle. AC voltages and currents are expressed in RMS values. The RMS value of an AC voltage or current is the value of the DC voltage or current that would cause the same power dissipation in a resistance. For sine signals, the RMS value can be calculated from the peak voltage using the formula VRMS equals 0.707 times the peak. For radio purposes, the frequency of AC current is divided into ranges. The most important ranges are HF, VHF, and UHF. I guess if you speak to people that play with gigahertz, they're gonna also jump up and down and say we also import. But this is what's written in the book, so let's keep to that. Right, the frequency of a waveform is defined in the unit D, hertz. I can't remember that we actually read that. But it is hertz. Just get my crypt notes together so that we can go through these things. Right. The frequency of 5 hertz has a period of, now they will say T equals 1 divided by the frequency. Sorry guys. That's right. So let's just see here. I like to calculate this stuff, so I know it takes a bit more time. 5
To
equals
the reverse
Ze-
calculation is 200 times 5 equals 1000 from a milli back up to a full 1. So yeah, sorry.
no. So this one would be C, if I'm correct.
Correct, 100%.
That's it. Right. Then the next one. Let me move my calculator down and I scroll the question up. A wavelength of 100 megahertz in free space is. Um, so we'll take the lambda equals
No,
the
we
speed
take
of
the
light.
300 divided by the frequency in hertz.
That's right. That's the other way of doing it.
Quick one. Yeah.
The quick one, yeah. So if we take 300 and we divide that by 100, we'll get 3. Oh, this thing scrolled
Yes.
away again.
Yes.
Yes. So that would be then 3 meters.
Correct.
Right. A radio wave has a period of 20 milliseconds. Its wavelength in free space is. So then we take
What is the formula that we're going to use?
lambda equals the speed of light times time, t. So what we'll say is bracket 3 that 8 that times bracket open 20 that minus 3 bracket equals. Okay, that is 6 million, but if we convert it to, we divide it by 1,000 to make it kilometers, and that will give us 6,000 kilometers. So that would be D.
Correct.
Right. Two sine signals are 180 degrees out of phase. When the one signal is at maximum positive value, the other is B, the most negative value, because it's exactly on the opposite side. So if the one side's maximum positive, the other one would be maximum negative.
It's like
Everybody,
the one side, when the one side is high, the opposite side would be low.
that's right, yes. Which signal consists of only the fundamental frequency without any harmonics? They told us that it is a sine signal. Right, next. Which value represents the ratio of RMS to peak value of a sine AC waveform? And we've just worked with it at 0.707.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so well, that's a value you must just remember. Like the 300, you must just remember that. What is the value of an AC waveform representing the equivalent heating effect of a DC voltage? It's known as RMS value. Root mean square, of in Afrikaans noem ons dit die wortel van die gemiddelde kwadraat. Now, if you give that term to an English-speaking guy, you've got him in a knot. The mains voltage in the USA is 115 volts RMS. What is the peak voltage? Right, so we know 115 divided by 0.707 equals 162.6. 163 would be the correct answer. Right. I assume that everybody is happy with the answer if I hear nothing. The mains voltage in South Africa is 240 volts RMS. If this voltage is applied across a heating element with a resistance of 576 ohm, how much power would be dissipated? So we know.
So power equals volts times the resistance, but the volts need to be adjusted to its RMS value. Correct?
That's right. So we
Times
take the voltage.
0.707.
No, we will look. This is already RMS, so we're gonna
Already RMS. Yeah.
So we're gonna take that, and I'm gonna divide that by
0.76.
576.
707.
Why did I get this? No. 10.
Yeah, it's
We
200.
must use I squared R.
That's right.
What is I?
I is amp, but we don't have that. So we need V equals IR. So let's start with that. V equals IR. So we're going to divide that by that. So I think I was right. 24 divided by 576 equals that. That's the current. And that must be the... So we times that by 240. And that's 100 watts. Somebody said something about the V squared. So if we say 240
YX, the other one, lower down. 2.
2 divided by the resistance 576 equals 100. So that is, and that's the nice thing about having two different formulas. You can actually check that you can check your answer with two different formulas and see, okay, well, I'm right in both ways. A hi-fi loudspeaker has a resistance of 8 ohms. Did we miss that one? No, what? No, we did. An electric geyser operating from 240 volt RMS AC supplies 2.4 kilowatt. What current does it draw? So we're gonna take 2,400 divided by 240, and that's gonna give us 10 amp RMS. Because this is already RMS, our answer would be RMS. Everybody agree? And if you don't agree, you shout out and say, I don't agree. A hi-fi loudspeaker has a resistance of 8 ohms. When it is delivering 8 watt, what is the RMS voltage across that speaker? Okay, so 8 watt. So I think it's the same as that one that we've just done. Let's see here. So that's going to be P equals V squared over R.
8 divided by 8.
So V is going to be
I would go with A in this case.
Yeah.
I think also that it's A. No, it's not. I got to another answer just now. So let's just check. I want one of those things. I don't want that 10 there. I want that. That. Um, the wattage is 8 watts times 8 ohms in brackets, and then we say equal, and that is 8 volt. Okay, that's the last one that we have to do. So if you don't agree with this answer, we must try and figure out, because it might be wrong, but I don't think so. Okay, so 8 watts.
You see, if you look at the formula in reverse,
Yeah.
the power, 8 watts. P
Yeah.
equals what is it? V times I, or
That's
is
right.
it V square I?
Yeah. Volt times amps gives you watts, the power and
P
watts.
equals I times
So
V.
to get to 8, what do you have to multiply 8 with? With 1.
P goes on top of IV. Okay, so we want to get V. So V would be equals P over I. So we've got to calculate. I usually write down all the stuff before and then I calculate. So I've got the wattage and I've got the ohms.
And you're looking for the voltage.
That's right. So
the formula that we could start with, P equals volts times V times I.
that's right, yeah.
So P equals V over I. So to get now you divide by P on both sides, and then you've got 1 wait, no, I'm messing it up.
There's
P
2
equals,
formulas here.
ja, daar is meer as een.
Nou, dit's 2 goed te berekening om die finale antwoord te gee.
I would go to 1 volt. Yeah. Let's have a look at the formulas again there. Yeah.
Let that machine do a calculation. We back here. Sorry.
Okay, Henry, I think you must use P is equal to I squared R. We've got P, which is 8 watts. We've got R, which is 8 ohms. So I squared is 8 watts divided by 8 ohms.
It's 1.
So I squared is 1. And 1 squared is 1. So the answer is 1. It's A.
That's the other formula, yes.
Okay, A. So this is one of those questions that's going to keep us busy for a while. Let's see what this machine came up with. Marty sê sy stem nie saam nie. Marty disagrees. Right, here's what is this? Gemini. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is what Gemini came up with. So P equals V squared over R.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly. Wat?
Ja,
V squared.
ja, V squared over R.
but remember, we only have P, 8 watts, and we have R. That's all that we have.
Okay,
It's power
so
times resistance, and you have to square the power times resistance. So it's 8 times 8 squared, which is 64 squared, which is 8 volts.
Ja.
so dit kom terug na die manier wat ek dit nou uitgewerk het, nê. Nee. Waar ek gesê het,
Ja,
die vierkantswortel van 8 maal 8
64.
is 64 squared, wat 8 is.
Julle kan net kyk na die chat. Ek het die
Chat.
calculation daar gesit.
Okay, so ek sê dis B, 8
Ek
volt.
stem saam.
Okay.
Dis reg.
Om-
Stem.
Ons sê, meneer, ons is op datum, kan jy dit oorvertel? Ek gaan die opname stop. Ek wil net vir julle sê dat ek het